This watch that I've got in my hand is not my watch. It's actually a tennis player's watch. His name is Tim. You see, Tim is one of my viewers and we played tennis not too long ago and he absolutely destroyed me. He wiped me off the court. And now Tim's bought a brand new watch. It's the Sinn U50. And he's asked me, do you want to have a look at it? I thought, you know what, I'll have a look at it, but because he's beaten me in tennis, I might not give it back to him. He doesn't know that yet. Let's check this out. I was only joking about the remark not giving the watch back. I will give the watch back. Tim's a good fella. Look, he's one of my viewers and he's given me this watch to have a look at. It's been a real revelation because I am an avid Sinn fan. In fact, the last 3 Sinns that I've purchased for myself, a nice blue one, an orange one and a yellow one, they're all the 556 range. I bought them because they suit my lifestyle. But today we're going to look at this. It's the Sinn model number U50 S BS. And it's a limited watch. It's actually limited to 500 pieces. A very interesting piece because it's stealth black. It features the U-boat steel, the submarine steel, and it's tegimented technology. So the quality, well, it's very hard to express. What I'm feeling in my hands here is a very solid, very well-made watch, like super well-made. It's only 11 mil thick and it has 500 meters of water resistance. And I don't just say 500 meters of water resistance, it's actually been pressure tested from the DNV. In other words, an independent classification company that verifies and certifies and pressure tests these watches to a depth of 500 meters or 50 bars. They also test for temperature resistance and functionality in accordance with the European diving equipment standards. So the watch is not a toy, it's actually a tool. And I know I said Tim's actually a tennis player. He is, he plays really good tennis. But he's also a diver. He's part of the PADI Association, and you know what? He's been diving for years, and he chose this for his watch as a daily wear and as something that he can use as casual diving. And I think that's a fantastic choice. And the reason I say that is because let me get into the dimensions of the watch and its technology, and you'll see what I mean. Now, the case diameter of the watch comes in at exactly 40 millimeters. I measure a case height of 11.2 mil. We have a lug to lug of 46.5 and a lug width of 20 mil, and it also features drilled lugs. Now the crown is a 5.9mm signed screw down crown and it features 500 meters of water resistance or 50 bar of pressure. And the total weight of this watch on this silicone strap comes in at exactly 130 grams. Now Tim's got a slightly bigger wrist than me, and as you can see, I've got an 18cm wrist. His sized it slightly bigger, so it's probably sitting a little bit loose on my wrist, but the footprint is fantastic. As you can see, for a 40mm watch, you know, lug to lug of 46.5, it's brilliant. But that height for a 500 meter, 11.2 mil, that is brilliant. That is such a phenomenal achievement with this tegimented steel, this submarine U-boat steel, very strong. The silicone strap that this thing comes on is strong and sturdy. As you can see, it's signed, it's got its clasp at the bottom, but it also features, I'll show you guys something. Just in there, it's got micro adjustability. So when you actually cut the strap to size to fit you, you make sure that you leave enough room to be able to go in and out, whether to go over a wetsuit or just for breathability. If you're going to be using it for a daily wear, it's up to you. But that's a real good feature. And while we're on the strap, guys, that clasp is fantastic. It's such a satisfying snap. It's made out of the same submarine tegimented steel as the actual case. Super strong, designed to go the distance. Really impressed. Now, I said at the start of the video that this watch was a bit of a revelation, and some of the things that I mean when I say it's a revelation is the legibility. You see, the crystal on this is almost non-existent. In most situations, you can't even see that there's glass there, which is great. All you see is a crystal clear dial, excuse the pun. And that dial is a blue-black gradient dial, and the contrast against those white hands and markers make this one of the most legible and pleasing visual experiences in the hand. This video will not do this watch justice. I guarantee you, I really do. I've seen photos of this watch, I've seen videos of this watch. I'm looking at it in the hand and it is phenomenal. What I'm seeing on that dial is such an attractive look. You're looking into it because there is no glass. That's what it looks like. Now the watch features a Swiss Solida SW300-1 automatic, very strong power horse, 28,800 vibrations per hour, designed to be rugged and accurate, and this is very accurate. It's been running at about +1 to 2 seconds per day. In fact, all of Sinn's watches, they seem to have them regulated. The ones that I own in my own collection, they're running at exactly the same spec. Now moving our attention to that bezel, it's a captive bezel. In other words, it's a solid piece of the same submarine steel, and it has, if you look closely, it's actually got screws. There we are, it's got screws. So if you want to release the bezel, you need to unscrew those screws all the way around, and then the bezel comes off. Fantastic. That's a professional tool. It's a 60-click unidirectional bezel. It goes in one direction, and it's got an inverted triangle that's loomed at the top. It's designed for diving, and it's got a count-up scale, as you can see. So let's have a look. Very firm, very precise. There's no back play in it. It locks into place. Beautiful. Locks in beautifully. So it's a very reassuring feel. I did mention that the watch feels really well made, premium. So does that bezel. It's dampened and muffled in a particular way that exudes quality, and that's really great. Now getting onto the lume of the watch, it's Swiss Superluminova, and a very interesting observation, on initial impressions, it's actually not that bright. It's not as bright as I expected, but in saying that, all the markers and hands are so broad, the application actually lasts a very, very long time. So getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning and looking at the side table for a gauge of the time, you'll easily read this. It's still bright in the early hours of the morning. Now Mr. Tim, all watches do have positives and negatives, and this one here isn't exempt. There are a couple of negatives that I found in playing with his watch for a whole week, and I'll tell you what they are. Number one, the silicone strap. I love it, I think it's comfortable, but Tim's had this for the better part of what, nearly 2 months now. And if you look at the actual strap, to me, it seems like it's, what's a better word? It looks like it's rubbed out, or it's like an eraser. It's, you know, it's worn, it's lost its luster, and it doesn't affect its functionality. But for a watch that's got a beautiful hardness coating that will not scratch in normal wear and tear, in 10 years, this watch will look the same. But in about a year or two, this strap will not. And that's a damn shame. The weakest link in looks on this watch is that strap. Albeit it does function beautifully, it is very comfortable. I like the way that they actually design it with the micro adjustability in that clasp. Well done. Second negative or potential negative I can find on this watch is the price. Here in Australia, these things come in at 4,225 Australian dollars. But in saying that, the tech that you get out of this, it's worth it. The technology makes up for the empty wallet. In 5-10 years time, when you're still looking at this watch and it looks fantastic and it still functions as is, you're gonna forget about that initial hit. Third potential negative of the watch is that lume. And I say potential negative because the lume is great, as in it lasts, but it's not as bright. If I compare it to maybe my Tudor or my Seikos, it's not as bright, but it does last the distance, which is a big plus. And you know what? I'll touch on one more negative, or again, a potential negative, and that's the crown at it's just over the 4 o'clock. It's not exactly at 4, it's just below 4 o'clock. It has been a little bit sort of awkward to grab, but in saying that, it's out of the way. It's not gonna, there's no crown guards. So being at that position, it's not gonna catch on any rocks or coral when you're diving. It is a plus, but it's also, just bear in mind that, yeah, it's a bit awkward grabbing it down there rather than the 3 o'clock position. That's about it for negatives. Moving on to the positives, what can I say? Legibility, legibility, legibility. That crystal, it pretty much disappears. It's not there. That's fantastic. That monochromatic black case takes away any distractions, and all of your attention goes to reading that time. Now that's a real big plus. The fact that it's tenement to technology, the fact that this is not going to scratch under normal use, again, another big plus. The size, the weight, the wearability, very, very surprising. For a 500 meter watch, built this well, it's really, like I said, it's a revelation. It's such a good watch, such a beautiful feel in the hand. I think Tim's done very well. He's bought himself an absolute gem here. Not only is it from a good company, made in Germany, Swiss movement, but it's also built to last. My only gripe now with this watch is that I've got to give Tim a phone call. He's going to come around, we're going to have a coffee together, and then I've got to give him his watch back. And that's a damn shame. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Thanks for watching. Leave me your comments on what you think about this watch. I think it's pretty impressive. Thanks again to Tim, and we'll see you all in the next video.